Live from our Tasmanian headquarters, this is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. The state opposition has revealed its shadow ministry, with leader Rebecca White offloading the significant health portfolio. The Premier is describing it as a lack of substance from the Labor Party, quashing doubts his own health minister was reluctant to return.
Formalities at Government House swearing in Tasmania's 9 new ministers, some more eager than others.
There's always one.
Despite 4 years managing an ailing health system, the Premier says Michael Ferguson requested to keep the portfolio, typically seen as a poisoned chalice.
Michael Ferguson, to his credit, recognises that health is an issue. He'll stick the course, unlike Rebecca White.
Rebecca White today revealing her shadow
Remains my number one priority, but as I said throughout the election campaign, I didn't think it was appropriate that the Premier also be the Minister for Health.
It shows they're not serious about what they say, and it shows also that they don't have the substance to deal with what is an important issue.
Instead, the opposition leader is taking on federal-state relations and smaller roles in tourism, arts and trade. The significant shadow health role set down for Upper House member Sarah Lovell, overlooking former Government Minister David O'Byrne.
I'll do whatever Beck has asked me to do. We had a long conversation around infrastructure. I'm a former infrastructure minister, very passionate about that area.
Newcomers Anita Dow with Regional Development and Training, Ella Haddad, Shadow Attorney General.
I want to be able to present a team to the people of Tasmania that we can demonstrate will transition into government.
The Labor Party is now without much of its right wing after losing Conservative Madeleine Ogilvie to union-backed Ella Haddad. What she calls the Great Labor Party.
She has a range of experience both in the Parliament and outside the Parliament that I know will stand her in good stead for whatever it is she takes on as her next challenge.
If there's any challenge, it appears to be sticking with the party. Jacqueline Robson, Southern Cross News.
AFL CEO Gillon McLachlan has made his highly anticipated visit to the state in a bid to resolve the growing number of issues facing Tasmanian football. Tom Cooper joins me now live from the North Hobart Oval. Good evening, Tom. Did Gill answer all the big questions on everyone's lips?
Good evening, Joe. Well, he was certainly put under the pump here this morning, and I'm sure Tasmanians will quickly decide for themselves whether he properly addressed those issues or not. What we do know is it was a very quick visit. He was only in the state for a few hours before flying back to Melbourne, but in that time he did make some fairly big commitments, one being the formation of a steering committee with some pretty familiar faces on it. He's also offered up a bit of a cash injection for some of the state's young footballers. He also faced a barrage of questions about why our long-suffering football state still hasn't got a team in the AFL. Let's take a look at how the morning played out. Arriving on a cold Tasmanian autumn morning, the AFL CEO was soon feeling the heat.
I love coming down to Tasmania. I don't know if Tasmanians love me coming here.
Facing a barrage of questioning on a range of contentious issues, McLachlan was quick to prioritise his agenda.
I've committed today to subsidise the levies of all Tasmanian junior players selected in the AFL Tasmania talent programs with an immediate injection of $200,000.
As for further funding, he'll leave that up to a newly formed steering committee to decide what's needed, consisting of Carlton coach Brendan Bolton, St Kilda 300 gamer Nick Riedwald, current and former AFL Tas CEOs Tricia Squires and Rob Auld, and AFL State League manager Simon Lawton, with the AFL strategic team at the group's disposal.
I actually think it's a pretty good list, and I think you'd be challenged to go through it, find where what gap is missing in terms of actually providing the right solutions.
The committee has been set a deadline of June 30 to finalise recommendations surrounding the sustainability of the State League, strengthening talent pathways and the future governance and funding of AFL Tasmania. McLachlan also committing to visiting the embattled Northwest at some stage this year, with Burnie and Devonport recently folding from the TSL due to lack of player numbers.
As you can see, we've set a pretty aggressive deadline because we need to make some decisions.
And as expected, aspirations of a standalone Tasmanian AFL side were left on the back burner.
Work through the issues before us in the coming weeks and months, and then pick up the discussions with the government, with Hawthorn, with the Kangaroos about what post-2021 looks like.
McLaughlin will return to the state on April 14 to provide further announcements on support for Tasmania's talent pathways, calling on the state government to also look at digging deeper into its pockets.
Well, let's be clear, we already kick in around $7.5 million a year. At the end of the day, the buck stops with the AFL.
We won't let Tasmanian football go without, but the solutions are not easy and will take time.
Tom Cooper, Southern Cross News.
Tasrail is preparing to halt some of its operations so its new multi-million-dollar rail bridge can be installed at Campbelltown. The major replacement job will be carried out over Easter, with another 5 bridges to also be redeveloped within 18 months.
In a work shed on the northwest coast, these giant slabs of concrete are being moulded. Each weighs up to 30 metric tonnes, and soon they will all be lifted onto semi-trailers and transported to Campbelltown, where they'll be pieced together to make a new rail bridge.
This will lead to reduced delays, improved reliability, and ensuring that we offer a better product to our customers.
80% of the precast works have now been completed by VEC Civil Engineering.
This project is really key. This is employment for more than 20 workers on this project for us.
The new bridge will replace the existing one over the Elizabeth River and is designed to last 100 years. The replacement to be carried out in 3 days, starting from Good Friday.
Significant scale of project and all to be done in a 70-hour shutdown through the Easter weekend. So we plan that hour by hour.
The Campbelltown project forms part of a $119 million upgrade of Tasmania's rail network, funded by the state and federal governments. Across the state, 6 rail bridges are being repaired or replaced as part of the multi-million-dollar project. Here in Deloraine, this bridge will undergo steelwork repairs to ensure it's safe for many more years. And to ensure new rail bridges aren't destroyed by floods, like we saw in 2016, they're being designed differently.
This bridge is a 2-span bridge in lieu of the existing 5-span, so what that does is allow for increased water flow. It'll allow for in times of flood, to risk the opportunity of debris to get caught up in that structure.
Monica Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Vineyards across Tasmania are in the thick of the busy harvesting period at the end of the growing season. This year's vintage has surprised many growers, with warm weather triggering the earliest harvest in memory.
Harvesting is underway at vineyards across the state. Following from last year's record yield, this season is shaping up well.
We did have our warmest start to the year on record, and that's meant that our grapes have ripened much more quickly. Harvest has started earlier for us than ever before. For some vineyards it's been as much as 2 to 3 weeks earlier than usual.
Frogmore Creek is just one of Tasmania's many blooming vineyards, with the winery housing large containers full of the fermenting grapes. The winemaking process is reliant on science, machines and expertise, but is also heavily dependent on the weather for the quality of the grapes.
This year it's a very, very good yield, let's say, yield and quality. We got everything happening for us this year again. We had beautiful, good weather, so we got good acid, we got beautiful flavours, so that's going to be another tremendous vintage. Yeah.
But while the season has been good, the fruit fly outbreak has caused some issues. Grapes aren't directly affected, but it is impacting transport in certain areas.
Fruit fly, I guess, impacts on every agricultural sector. For wine grapes, it doesn't directly impact on us, but we do need to be conscious of making sure that we're not contributing to any further spread of fruit fly.
But despite the problems, the 2018 vintage is shaping up to be a good one. Ruby Kamain, Southern Cross News.
Mona's expansion plans are set to clear a major hurdle under a new deal with Taswater. Mona is hoping to build a 5-star 172-room hotel on its Berrydale site and revamp a nearby caravan park. But the constructions are within a buffer zone of a sewage treatment plant and its odour emissions. Taswater says it signed a memorandum of understanding to find a solution to the impasse, possibly including upgrades of the plant or relocation. A Tasmanian umpire has received the biggest call-up of his career to date. After cutting his teeth in the State League, Reece Goodger is about to run the boundary in the grand final of the AFL Women's League in front of more than 10,000 people.
Snaps and goal! From practice sessions at Prospect Park to an audience expected to top 10,000, this Saturday will mark a big milestone in 19-year-old Reece Goodger's umpiring career, thrown into boundary duties for the Women's League decider at Icon Park.
Can't believe it. I was shocked when I got the phone call to be doing the grand final, and can't stop thinking about it.
It's a grand achievement for Goodger in what will be just his 5th AFLW game. The call-up comes after his impressive display on the boundary in last week's final round of the regular season.
It's jubilation for the Dogs, devastation for the D's.
It's feeling anxious, just ready to get out there. Obviously excited as well with the amount of people around the ground as well. There's a fairly big crowd, about 7,000 people.
Jessica Wushner from Clarence will line up for the Lions in the final after kicking 3 goals last week. Burnie's Britt Gibson is likely to join her when teams are finalised tomorrow. As for the whistleblower, preparation will remain low-key.
Just keep it simple, train the same way.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
Classic cars dating back more than 100 years are roaring to life for a trip across the state. Today's opening leg of the Veteran Car Tour, including 2 of the oldest Fords in the country, along with an extremely rare Tasmanian-made motorcycle.
The Sovereign motorcycle brand is a relic of Launceston's past. Its models were handmade in the middle of town and fetched an exclusive price tag. Now Greg Smith claims to own the last surviving Sovereign made in 1908.
They were a fairly popular brand in the day.
It's one of 30 old-time vehicles running in the National Veteran Car Tour over the next 5 days. All of these machines were built before 1920 and boast only a 1 or 2 cylinder engine. No air conditioning or even a roof in most cases, so drivers rugged up, ready to wind up their much-loved and meticulously maintained motors. On the tour are 2 of the oldest Fords in the country. This Model AC was a forerunner to the company's famous Model T, which revolutionised the industry forever.
They're just so different. It's a bit like time travel, isn't it? You go back in time when you drive, so they're great.
Even the fastest vehicles here will max out at around 50 kilometres per hour. So the tour is sticking closely to the back roads between Mole Creek, Carrick and Bracknell, which, for the Sovereign's sake, doesn't include too many hills.
On hills, when it starts to lag, because it's got no gearbox, you have to help again with the pedals to get it up over the hill. And if that all else fails, then you get off and push it over the hill.
Tom Johnson, Southern Cross News.
A grant from Aurora Energy is helping Tasmanians affected by cystic fibrosis. 4-year-old Scarlett is one of those benefiting from the funding. $5,000 has gone towards the purchase of 41 new nebulizers, which help control the symptoms of cystic fibrosis.
Behind the scenes, you would know that she's a child with cystic fibrosis, but as a little person running around, you'd have no idea. She rides a pedal bike without training wheels, she runs and loves the beach, and you know, she's super active and just, but an absolute inspirational little kid too.
We're a Tasmanian business, we love what we do, we're passionate Tasmanians, so to be able to see the direct and indirect benefit we can have on a family such as Scarlett's is just a privilege.
Cystic fibrosis causes a mucus build-up in the lungs, making breathing difficult. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. The Australian share market has closed higher on a day of light trading volumes ahead of a decision on interest rates by the US Federal Reserve. The ASX 200 index has risen by 13.9 points. A short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 76.98 US cents and 62.75 euro cents.
As we heard earlier, AFL CEO Gillon McLachlan has made several commitments to ensure the sustainability of Tasmanian football during today's visit to Hobart. Tom Cooper joins us once again. And Tom, how could those commitments help out in the immediate future?
Well, Tom, the most obvious one is the $200,000 to subsidise the levies for all our junior footballers coming through AFL Tasmania's talent pathway programs. That should ease the burden and have a bit of a long-term flow-on effect. But what's expected to have the most impact over the next year or so are the recommendations which the newly formed steering committee has been given until June 30 to reach. They've been tasked with coming up with a plan to ensure the sustainability of the embattled State League, improve talent pathways and work out just how much further funding is needed to make all of that happen. As for the long-standing issue of Tasmania not having its own AFL side, well, not much has changed there. McLaughlin says he'll talk more on that later in the year once the more immediate issues are addressed, as the Hawthorn and North Melbourne deals with the state don't actually expire until 2021. Now, McLaughlin will revisit the state next month to make some further announcements and hopefully dig a little bit deeper into the AFL's pockets. Back to you, Tom.
Yeah, we'll see what he brings to the table. Thanks for that, Tom. Tom Cooper joining us there. To cricket, and the WBBL Hurricanes and Tasmanian Roar have officially locked in the person to lead them forward over the next 3 years. Former England international Sally Ann Briggs is confident she can turn the side's fortunes around.
With the Hurricanes managing just 2 wins last WBBL season, Briggs is under no illusions about the challenges ahead.
I'm fully invested moving over here for 3 years and looking to create that aspirational pathway where we can get players, young players in Tasmania thinking, you know, I want to play for Cricket Tasmania.
Having played more than 100 one-dayers for England, Briggs was more recently the Women's Academy and Under-19s head coach and comes into the Cricket Tasmania program following the sacking of former coach Julia Price.
We're about to embark in a new era of women's cricket which will be fully professional. So we're looking for someone who's got a very strong and clear vision about the direction of the program.
And with none of the Hurricanes internationals recommitting so far, it's hoped Briggs can entice some big names to the program for the next WBBL season.
I've worked with a lot of the England players over my coaching period, so I've got some great connections with them who I hope that would want to work for me.
While Cricket Tasmania is confident her experience at academy level can help develop the state's up-and-coming talent into world-class cricketers.
I think it was 52 slides you had in your presentation that you did for us, but what it showed was a real care and a real motivation and drive for this particular program.
Tom Cooper, Southern Cross News.
Good evening. Hobart 15 degrees today. Launceston reached 19. Burnie and Devonport both 18 today. -4 the low at Butler's Gorge, while today the warmest was 20 at Cape Sorel on the west coast, not far from the entrance to Macquarie Harbour. Strahan was 1 degree cooler, as was Smithton, Lowhead, Friendly Beaches and the Bass Strait Islands, all on 19. St Helens 18 today, Grove 16 and Ouse 15 degrees. Now, the easterly flow brought the widespread cloud mostly low level to the north and east of Tasmania. The west found some very sunny breaks this afternoon. Now, the larger picture shows an area of cloud to the west under a high pressure system over the Bight. Frontal cloud is approaching Western Australia. Marcus is off the northwest of WA. In fact, Marcus is now a severe tropical cyclone at Category 5 and will persist tomorrow. The high over our region is now to the southeast as it weakens. Actually, it was 1,041 hectopascals, which is quite strong for this time of year. Troughs lie over central and Western Australia tomorrow. East and northeasterly winds again tomorrow to 20 knots over the south and west, but to 20 to 30 knots over northern waters with 3 metre swells decreasing. A strong wind warning from Sandy Cape over to the tip top of Flinders Island. Into tomorrow we go. 18 the high for Hobart, a cloudy day. 18 the top for Cygnet, New Norfolk, 18 as well. For Launceston, a shower or two. Flip of the coin odds for that. 20 the top tomorrow, 19 for Devonport and 17 the high for Campbelltown with a shower or two. A few more showers over Burnie, 18 the maximum, 20 for Strahan. A windy day for Smithton and a top of 19 degrees. For St Helens, a few showers and 18. Swansea, a shower or two and 17. A few showers also for Fingal. They need it, 15 the maximum. UV at 6s and 7s. On Friday, showers over the north and east, but sunny in the west. Strahan looking at 22. A wet weekend coming our way with showers extending statewide on Saturday and early rain for the north on Sunday, getting right across the state during the day. Sunny and 30 in Perth tomorrow. Fine as well for Adelaide, Melbourne and Alice Springs. Showers over Sydney and Brisbane. Storms possible for Cairns and Darwin. And right now, Hobart cooling down, 14 at the moment, 16 in Launceston, 17 in Devonport. I've been away a couple of days, Joe, travelling around. I've a lot of visitors still in the state. I met the McCoy family from Hawaii who love it here. I said, come back in 4 months and see if you say the same thing.
they may not like it then. Thanks very much for that, Murph. That's all from the team for now. Thanks for your company. We'll see you a little later. Bye-bye.